here at 7 o'clock, or 6 o'clock, I'm sorry. And Doug, if you'll call the roll.
Chair Holmquist.
Here.
Alder DePula.
Here.
Ms. Fox.
Here.
Mr. Homburg.
Here.
Ms. Fallett.
Here.
Mr. Chapman.
Here.
Mr. Stein.
Here.
Mr. Grice is excused.
All right, we need a motion for approval of the minutes from the February 9th, 2026 meeting.
Motion to approve.
And then you just pick the second.
Second.
All right. Any corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, there is no change to the order of business. Is there anybody that wishes to appear on an item that is not on the agenda? Seeing nobody here, is there anybody online?
There's at least a couple online. Are you related to applications, or is that would you like to appear on something not on the agenda this evening? I'm not seeing any.
All right. We will close the appearance section and move on to 6A, which is a public hearing for the Galloway companies on a request for a consideration of a general development plan, or GDP, for the site located between 5600 Gisholt and 1709 West Broadway. And this is for a mixed-use development, case number 225-2025. And who do we have to walk us through the presentation? Steve, if you want to come on up.
Sure.
My guess is you want us to pull up slides.
Sure, yeah, I think folks had it. Hi, everyone. Okay.
If you can grab one of the mics, just to make sure you're on.
Sure, if you wouldn't mind. So we're going to hand out a new site plan slide. There's been a couple changes to the overall site plan for this project since our submittal. And as a reminder, we're not looking for any formal approvals or any sort of approval, just some feedback. And we knew when we submitted here that the site plan and access that we were working on was going to continue to be a moving target. And we've refined that over the last several weeks, so we wanted to get some feedback tonight on the revised site plan, or at least get it in front of you to think about and provide feedback after you have a chance to look at it. So the plan that Jennifer is circulating right now is that new site plan. So I apologize in advance. Don't pay attention at all to the site plan that's in the package.
The one we studied all weekend?
Correct. And I'll explain why the changes.
Okay.
As we get them. So
We'll figure out how to do this here in a second.
Yeah.
Okay.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, my name's Steve Dorn with Galloway Companies. I'm pretty sure everybody knows who I am, but just for purposes of introduction. And actually tonight I have with me Jennifer Camp, who is our architect, and also I have Andrew McCready from WPS and 3 folks from One City Schools who are our adjoining neighbors who have been gracious enough to join us and speak on behalf of the project tonight as well. We're here tonight to talk about a large mixed-use project to go in front of the Top Golf and WPS headquarters and One City School, of which the Top Golf is currently under construction, as we know. The project as proposed consists of 4 mixed-use buildings with a central park in the middle of the project. Doug, would you mind going to the site plan? There we go. So, as you can see in the plans in front of you, as well as what's on the screen, the overall form and shape of the plan has not changed much from our last discussion back in November. The project consists still of the 4 mixed-use buildings, as we discussed. We would break the project into 2 phases. The first phase we are proposing to develop would be what is labeled the A1 and B1 buildings, which are the easternmost buildings on the site, and the central park in the middle of the project, which is intended to be a city-owned park at a size of just about 0.8
Steve, can you hang on
acres.
just for a
Yep.
second? We got to fix something with the audio. Someone just gave us a chat.
That was a message that just came through on Zoom that folks can't hear us. I don't know if that's just to that mic or if it's total, but on Zoom, folks are having a difficult time. Sorry.
People online can't hear.
Oh, it says it's working now. Steve, would you
It's working
mind
okay?
checking that mic?
Check, check. Good?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so as I mentioned, the project would be broken up into two phases. The first phase would be the A1 and B1 buildings, as well as the Central Park. The Central Park is designed as a public space that would be owned by the city of Monona and would be just under an acre in size. For comparison's sake, the Grand Crossing Park next to the current project in Monona is about a half of an acre. And so the public square we're proposing here is about twice the size of Grand Crossing Park. The buildings designed would be again broken down into phases. The first phase would be 141 senior market rate apartments and about 200 regular market rate apartments. So first phase in total would be about 343 total units, 2 stories of post-tension construction with 5 floors of fire sheath wood framing above them, so 7 stories total in height. As mentioned, the buildings would all be designed as market rate apartments with a mix of units from studios, 1 bedrooms, and 2 bedrooms in sizes, consistent with the unit mix and quality as to what we have at the current 1 and current 2 project down the street where Buck and Honey's is located. We talked a little bit about, we've made some changes to the architecture, which I'll let Peter Harmatek discuss here in a little minute, but I want to talk a little bit about the site plan that you have in front of you and how we got to it, because it's been a working progress to get to a site plan that satisfies the needs of all the parties that are involved. The east-west route that you see on the site plan going in front of Topgolf and WPS headquarters is currently a private drive that we intend to make a public road connecting what is now Gishalt Way all the way through the project across One City Schools over to the newly built Besa project. Making this a public street does many things. It connects Topgolf throughout the project. It allows WPS guests and employees full navigation through different routes, but it also allows One City students, faculty, and parents a way to get out to the west that they currently don't have. We also believe the making of these public streets allows for better integration of the traffic from the newly created project, as well as access along Broadway for the park, which will be made public again for all city residents of Monona. One of the things that was key to WPS was not interrupting access to the main headquarters and having their guests, employees, and other visitors navigate through parking lots on the way to their headquarters. As you can see, we've designed the western drive around the park such that vehicles can traverse off Broadway into the project along the west side of the park and get down to WPS headquarters without having to go through any means of a parking lot whatsoever. At the same time, we've needed to design the project where there is sufficient parking for not only our project, but also for constituents of Monona who may visit the public park. WPS and our company, as well as One City Schools, have worked together to come up with this plan where there is still parking along the south and the east side of the park, which would be available for the public to use, while also making sure that guests traversing on the west side of the park would be able to do so without having to worry about being backed up into by parked cars. This will make a situation where traveling on the west side of the park will be a little bit more fluid and more of a boulevard, whereas traffic on the east side of the park will be more town square type feeling. You also notice there's parking along the east-west route below our proposed A2 and B2 buildings, as well as below A1 and B1. Again, this parking is intended to be public parking for constituents of the city of Monona to use while visiting the public square. I think those summarize the main changes for the site plan we've talked about. We've made several changes to the architecture that Peter Harmatak is going to talk about, so I think I'll pass along to him at this point.
Great, thanks, Steve.
What's that?
Thank
You
you.
want me to talk about that? Because we needed to. I'll let him go and then I'll. Go ahead, Peter.
There's no sound again. There it goes. Doug, can we go forward to the rendering slide? Thank you. There's three main points I wanted to make about the architecture, both in the sort of exterior and in plan. Two are from the exterior, and one is just a plan comment. What you'll notice is we heard from the Planning Commission last time that they wanted some expression of vertical brick. And we've incorporated that on three of the sort of public-facing elevations of the A1 building. So you can see that the two end caps on this west elevation above sort of the restaurant would be vertical brick from the first floor all the way up to the top of the building. Next slide. And just another view of the park showing those two vertical end caps in masonry. See a little bit of the corner of B1, and if you go to the next slide. This is now a new rendering of the east side of the elevation of A1, and you can see that there's two vertical bays facing east on the property, but there's also two vertical bays facing north. So we've added 6 vertical bays of masonry going all the way up to the top of the building. Another thing you'll notice from this rendering perspective is that a large percentage of the kind of eastern end of the building, we step back about 10 feet. This was just so that there wasn't such a long, continuous, sort of flat facade. We wanted to create some depth and some more space between the sidewalk and the building, and also just visual interest in the architecture. Lastly, the plan comment I wanted to make is that we previously only had one entrance into the 2-story garage with an internal ramp, and we've changed that to have an external ramp going down to the lower level, and we have an at-grade entrance going into the first floor. So there's now 2 entrances in and out of the parking garage. And that's all we had on architecture.
I just have one more comment on the site plan that Chris reminded me of. We did on the last plan have a stormwater area on the east side of the plan. We've converted not only that area but as well as the west side of the site at the patio to more of an underground stormwater management system to not only be able to landscape this a little bit nicer, but also to provide some more amenity areas. One of our goals at the senior project is to really make this an active adult community. And so we are proposing to place some pickleball courts on the ground on the east side of the building. And then we also added a second dog run area to the east of those. That'll be landscaped heavily between the pickleball courts and the dog run. While we have a dog run on the elevated courtyards, one of the challenges that we've noticed is that some dog owners would like to use that elevated courtyard where it's faux grass, and some want real grass for their dogs. We've experienced that at Current 1, Current 2, as well as some other mixed-use buildings. And in talking with Jake from Parks, one of our goals here is to make sure that we provide every opportunity for our residents to use these areas for their dogs rather than the public square. So I think that's the only changes. Before I step away, like I mentioned, WPS and One City Schools are both here. I thought it might be helpful for them to speak about their thoughts on the project and for you to have input from them as well, rather before we move on.
Hello again, everyone. Andrew McCready, I'm Vice President of Corporate Services for WPS. Thanks for having us again. As Steve mentioned, we're very appreciative of Steve coming in here and his interest in this project. We've been working with him on this for, gosh, probably a year and a half, and he's been a great partner to us and I believe to the city. Steve's work across the street, our employees and visitors are frequenting that area, and we're excited to have something coming this close and adjacent to our campus. As it sits, WPS is very supportive of this project, and we look forward to working with the city and Steve's team as we dot the i's and cross the t's here, and hopefully get to development. So happy to answer any questions, and again, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hello.
A little bit of The Shining.
Hello. Trying to get out of this.
Gotta love technology.
There you go. All right. My name is Kathy River, and I'm the owner of the Madison Brain Center that's right at where Gitchell Drive comes out in Frontage Road and goes to Broadway there on the west side of your project, it looks like, where it meets Broadway. And I think it's a lovely project, but I've called the city engineering department a couple times over the years because the way that intersection comes out to Broadway is really dangerous. And it's dangerous for kids that are crossing the street. On the east side of the intersection, the west side is safer, but the way if they were going to come from Topgolf down Dishbolt Drive to Broadway, the way that's all laid out, and it looks perfect with signs, is very confusing for certain people, especially people who come for the first time. There have been many near misses, like lots of breaks, lots of people sometimes swearing at people. You hear it because I'm not that far from the intersection, but it curves to the right with 3 little roads, and the one, so even though there's one sign that says always stay right of this medium because there's 2 left turn lanes, 2 lanes to the left of that sign, people sometimes go into one of those lanes and turn left, and oncoming traffic is turning from Broadway to Dishbolt is turning left to them. So I really think that city engineer, because it needs to really look at this and make it a straight road or something. Am I making sense at all?
Yeah, and during the public hearing section, it's an opportunity for us to listen to your feedback. And so I think we are hearing correctly that you're talking about the intersection that as soon as you exit Broadway, you have to make an immediate curve. And depending on what side of the road you're on, for pedestrians, it's very difficult, as well as for vehicles as they're approaching that intersection. Do you have any additional feedback as it relates to this agenda item and the overall project? I understand this is loosely connected in the sense of it's one of the major roadways that is going to connect to the project, but do you have some additional feedback for the project? Kathy, I believe the name was Kathy. If you have some additional feedback, feel free to unmute yourself, and we're here to listen. Is it Andrew?
Yeah.
Andrew, we need to keep that door open. Sorry, thank you.
I'm not seeing an unmute.
Okay, all right. We can continue.
My name is Scott Humberson. I'm the Chief Financial Officer at 1C Schools. I'm joined here tonight by Natalia Navarro, who is our Chief Operating Officer, and Helado Flores, who is our Property Manager, are both here tonight. And we're here to answer any questions that you have, but tell you a little bit about the process and our relationship with Steve Duran and Galloway. We've had a number of meetings that I would characterize as collaborative and a good working relationship. Obviously, with the school, we're concerned about the safety of the children. We're also interested in the traffic flows of our parents dropping off and picking up our children. There's not a lot of traffic with kids walking to school. It's mostly cars and so forth. In our meetings with Steve, we had a number of suggestions, and they've been very amenable to some of our requests. I know that they've been working with the city on these things, and we're here really to provide our support for this project as has been presented here tonight.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak during the public hearing section?
This is Kathy River. I'm having technical problems, so
That's
I don't
all
know if you heard my concerns about the intersection right at North Broadway when you come from Gishel to North Broadway.
Yes, we did. You might not have heard
Can you hear
my
that?
comment back. Yeah, we heard your concerns regarding that drive entry, both for pedestrian access as well as for vehicle coming and going, and where they navigate, and your comment regarding the median, and how people will sometimes stack on to oncoming traffic rather than on the correct side of the median. Was there additional feedback that you had for the team regarding this project?
Still muted.
Kathy, you're muted again. I'm not sure if you have any additional feedback beyond what I've been able to summarize. All right, hearing none. Is there anybody else online?
I believe everybody else.
And then if you can just double check the comments, because I can't read that far.
Yes, it was a
The
comment from Kathy.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep, Kathy, we see your written comment as well, and it seems to match the summary that I kind of provided. So we'll definitely enter that in and have that as a consideration. Thank you. All right, we can close the public hearing section and move on to item 6B, which is a pre-hearing conference for Galloway companies. The request for a consideration of a general development plan, or GDP, for the site located between 5600 Gishel Drive and 1709 West Broadway for mixed-use development. This is case number 225-2025. Doug.
Thank you. So the request this evening is another pre-hearing discussion for the proposed mixed-use developments. This includes residential and commercial components, just under a 12.5-acre site in total. 4 buildings proposed across 2 phases around a public park square. Each phase includes 202 market rate units, as well as 141 senior units, with the percentage of those being affordable. So the applicant this evening is seeking feedback on the pre-hearing, intends to return pretty quickly here with a formal submittal for the GDP. The properties in question is zoned Community Design District, and that allows for the planned community development process, which allows for this phased approach. So the GDP will be the master plan for the development, and then each phase will have a PIP, precise implementation plan, where some of the more specifics will come into this. I will point out this is also within redevelopment area number 15. There is a TIF request that is being considered concurrently with the city's CDA, and this will actually come forward tomorrow evening for further continued discussion with the CDA. So the 2016 comp plan identifies this land as commercial in land use. This offers a opportunity for reimagination of the site. Staff would suggest this is a critical site and location. This is part of the ongoing corridor study and comprehensive plan update. Both the Broadway corridors and Monona Drive corridor will be studied as part of this. This is adjacent to the Topgolf that's under construction and provides the opportunity to create a district and supports the nearby office, including the WPS headquarters, the One City School as well. As it relates to the comprehensive plan, this also supports the aging population in the city that is greater than the county average, and encourages, the comprehensive plan also encourages sustainable redevelopment projects, which this would be considered part of that. A few discussion points that I would like to highlight. Certainly there's more detail in the staff report, but just trying to provide sort of a high-level detail this evening. One of the elements is the open space requirement. So the city ordinance requires 30% of open green space per the ordinance. Phase 1 here in the application materials is listed at 32% of the site, including open green space, but that does include the 36,000 square foot park. So there was some discussion about this back in November, and so some continued discussion there would be important. As it relates to the possibility of that number decreasing, possibly because there has been discussion of this park being dedicated as a city park, and not under control of the developer specifically. Further discussion also on the programming and the design of the park. There have been internal discussions with city park staff, with the parks director, but I think some direction there as to the potential programming, design elements that we could expect in this square, I think will feed into some of the parking, into some of the connectivity as well. The access and site circulation, certainly something we're looking for feedback this evening. The potential for these city streets, the connectivity east-west, but also north-south, the flow of vehicles through the site, the minimization of conflicts here as well, recognizing the importance of the connectivity to WPS, but also the other traffic that will be coming. This will be a mixed-use development, so just sort of managing all of those sort of competing elements. Not just vehicular, but also pedestrian and bicycle traffic as well. So discussion of that, the revised site plan that has been put forward this evening. Connectivity to the public square as well. So from the buildings, not just from the proposed buildings, but also from WPS to the south. How do these elements, where is the pedestrian access? How would you move through the site safely? And are the crosswalks in the right location? Is the street design in such a way that facilitates that? I did revise the parking tables in the staff report based on feedback from the November pre-hearing, and looking for some feedback on the allocation there of parking across the site, but also the potential impacts that may have to the PIP. Also looking for feedback on the architecture and massing. Certainly some changes have been made as were highlighted by the architect, but also the opportunity here potentially for some additional step backs. The floors 2 through 6 repeat, and there's not sort of a step back on the top floor, for example. So if there's a way potentially for some of these massings to be adjusted to take an opportunity, take advantage of some of these views, for example. Again, the design elements as it relates to some of the commercials. So the kind of the corner pieces here closest to the existing WPS drive, closest to the center, how these connect through the site, how these, again, facilitate those connections, and how these can be programmed in such a way that really bring the site together. Some discussion on landscaping. You may notice the tree islands, or the lack of in some of these streets. This comes from internal discussion. Quite a few of these streets, and we can discuss kind of the specifics, are proposed to be city streets. And so there's been discussion with the Public Works Director, as well as the crew in terms of maintenance, operations, specifically how these are related to a similar development at the riverfront with the current, and operational challenges that may come with some of those tree islands. So if some of those islands are to be removed, potentially where else could that landscaping be? How else could that be programmed? And then a final piece, just looking for some discussion this evening, you'll see sort of a preliminary CSM as well included in here. So I think we've got the engineer online as well who prepared it. So some discussion there because that would be needed, some property divisions and things like that, but also, of course, maintaining access for the other parcels that will be impacted as well. So lots more to add, but just tried to give an overview of that. Thank you.
All right. Who would like to kick us off? If there's no takers, I'm going to start with you, Rob.
Great.
All right. You can always pass and come back to.
I'll get it started,
All right.
and then we can go along. Re-scribbling my notes because they didn't save on my technology here. I like the project for the site. I like the density. I think that's fine. I like the fact that there is commercial components to this on this commercial corridor. Gonna bounce around here a little bit. going to kind of start with some of my questions here. The access off of Broadway on that easternmost access where it comes right at that elbow of the road is really unusual. And I'm not a traffic engineer, but that doesn't look ideal. And I'm curious to know what others think, but that doesn't look like something you would typically see. One question, with the removal of that pond area and the addition of the parking lot, you quoted the numbers of green space. Is that accurate now, or
That was
is that?
before that.
That was before,
Yeah.
so there's less green space?
Yeah, so the numbers I have from Vierbecker are we're at 24.3% green space, not including the park. We're at 38% if you include the park, and we're at about 32% if you include only half the park towards phase one, which would conceivably be 32% for the second phase if you included half the park for the second phase.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Are you including the elevated courtyards in your open space requirements?
Drew, if you're on, can you clarify that? They're wondering if the elevated courtyards are included in your green space calculation.
Yep, I'm here. Drew Mears with Vierbecker. The elevated courtyards are not included in the calculation, just the at-grade true green spaces, no impervious. It also does not include the potential pickleball courts or outdoor patio spaces up first floor.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so the pickleball will be more impervious.
Yeah. Rob, to answer your question on that easternmost access point, that's
Yeah, go
something
ahead.
that still would need to get cleaned up by Public Works. It is goofy, but it wouldn't end up, like, Public Works needs to design that still. We're just
Okay.
proposing an access point there. Whether or not that bulb stays or goes away is really up to Public Works,
Okay, thank you.
but good point.
And then Public Work has been engaged with all these new public roads as well. Can you clarify for me, off Gishholt, the road that comes all the way through over to the eastern road, I don't have the road, is that all gonna be public?
Yes.
Maybe you can answer that, Doug, you're saying.
Yes, so correct me if I'm wrong, but last iteration, so everything, there's sort of the surface lot behind the buildings off of Broadway. So those two lots that are pretty well protected, kind of, you would enter
Why
from,
don't you put it up, please?
Yep.
Yeah, an easy way to answer this, Rob, if you look at this plan that I just handed out,
Mm-hmm.
what is bold and bold lines would remain private, and what is more of a shaded gray line would become public.
Okay, that answers one of my other questions then too. So the park, all the roads around the park, parking lot, that's all part of phase one, is that correct, based off the letter?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. I had one question for, I forgot your name.
Scott.
Scott. You had said you had met and you described your meeting as collaborative and they were receptive to your thoughts and concerns and made some changes. Can you share any of those concerns or changes that maybe were made that maybe aren't easily identified on the site
Sure.
plan?
I might ask Natalia to come up here. I know that there was a discussion about fencing.
Yeah. Yeah, the changes primarily, and I can share an email that I forwarded to Doug too as well, but maybe Natalia would like to speak to him, but they're primarily fencing, some speed, traffic control, speed control.
Yes, we are obviously concerned about the safety and the protection of our playground that is on that side of the road. And so the changes that we propose were crosswalks for our students taking the bus to be able to access our campus safely, a fence, and reparation of the road as it goes all the way around our perimeter. We are obviously also concerned about the traffic flow, but according to what we have been examining, there will be more flow of traffic as one of the sites, the access to the west is now open, which we currently don't have.
Oh, to that new public road going all the way to Gishel?
Right.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I kind of saw the pond, the stormwater pond, as somewhat of a habitat amenity, which would be native landscaping and have some eco benefits. So I'm kind of sad to see that go, and this is all going underground. Is there any sort of green infrastructure, permeable paving like you did at the current proposed to handle stormwater requirements?
Drew, would you mind answering that one?
Yeah, right now we don't have any type of surface level other than green roofs. It's primarily underground tank type systems with infiltration as well.
Okay. One comment I had, as far as the background, I think I brought this up last time. It would be really nice to see this project completely in context. There's some good imagery, but I don't know, maybe an aerial. I don't know if this come back for action next time, but it would be helpful to see the overall massing because it's a large, long project with not a lot of breakup along those faces. My comment on kind of the architecture and massing is that's one of my concerns. I think step back is also something to help break up that. And then as far as the masonry, I'm glad that you added it. I think the more the better. That stuff always ages better. In the images, it's washed out, so it kind of just bleeds into the white siding. Thank you for bringing the material boards. It does differentiate a little bit more here, but I still have concerns about it. It just kind of blends together in my mind, and you don't get the benefit of masonry because it just looks like applied surface.
We do have a 3D image. Would you like Peter to email it to Doug and he can bring it up on the screen?
Whatever you want to do is welcome.
Just send it to them.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll leave it there for now. You can come back to me.
John?
I made a number of comments in your last presentation, so I don't want to repeat all those comments, so I won't. One of which was the length of this building is like one of the third football fields, and then there's a break, and then there'll be another one that's one and a third football fields. I specifically went out to the site and thought about that. I appreciate the 10-foot setback. That was one of the comments I did make. Not sure it's enough. I think one of the comments we had in your last presentation, and if we didn't, I'll say it. I couldn't find a site plan, a nice site plan that just showed phase one. It always shows phase two. So you have no idea if the other half never gets built, which could happen. What does it look like? Is the park there in phase one? Are all the roads there in phase one? I heard kind of yes, but there's nothing graphically that represents that. And I think that would be very helpful, which might lead to some more questions. The one last comment I'll make is the L-shaped building appears to have 6, 7 different colors, materials, and so forth. And then the one view, I think the only view we have of the, I'll call it senior housing portion, which is an A231, which is in the documents. It shows only one color in the other building, which is like this brown, or 2 browns actually. But everything's brown. And I'm just curious what the thought was there.
Yeah, there are more than one color on the 2 different buildings. Yeah. Peter, do you want to walk through the different colors?
At the bottom. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I see it.
Yeah. There's some grays, there's some browns, and there's some wood tone on the senior building as well.
All right. Thank you.
is the,
And we think the 3D image will show up. There you go.
I don't know if that's what you were looking for, Rob, but.
No, it helps. I wish we were a little quicker about it, though.
All right, Susan.
Okay, well, yeah, I like the design. Yeah, I just think I saw more of a trowel on top of one of the buildings, and maybe I'm just not seeing it here. But anyway, the architecture, yeah, well, yes, look at the board more closely later, but I like the colors, what I see so far. I do like the addition of the brick going on the side. The parking, I forget what you said about, you're not going to assign any parking by unit, are you, or?
No, we don't do that down the street either, no.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And are there, will there be locations for bike racks on the underground parking as well as outside, or?
Yeah, there will be bike rack locations for all the residents on the inside, and then there'll be some on the outside as well.
Like by the individual stalls, or?
Yeah, we still need to lay that all out, but typically we try to do one centralized area, and then also we do some in front of the stalls as well if there's room.
Okay. And then, whether deciding you are going to at least plan for EV connectivity with some parts of the parking lot, surface lots?
Yeah, we will do some EV here, and actually that's something that we have started to do more and more because there's been more demand for it.
Yeah, I would think it'll continue to grow. So the green roof, can you just say more about that? Is that something that you're definitely planning to do, or was it a maybe, or that wasn't clear from the paperwork?
I'll let Andrew talk through actually the composition of that. Drew, would you mind talking through the construction of just the green roof and what we're doing there? What not necessarily maybe even the green roof, but the courtyards.
Yeah, I guess I'll leave on Peter and Jennifer what all's going into the courtyard specifically, but in terms of the green roof, I think kind of two larger areas that are garden amenities. So those will have a full thickness. I don't know if we're going to go 8 or 12 inches of topsoil in there, a drainage board, and then ultimately sort of the storm sewer. And then just miscellaneous green spaces for like a dog run, as well as planters, and then some more decorative, smaller scale, with thicker soil cross sections and some smaller planters. And those all kind of have that same feel of some thickness of the soil, depending on what it's being used for, garden, dog run, or a planter, and then that drainage board below.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. That's better. And can you, I missed what you said, the percentage you're thinking of affordable housing in the senior building?
Yeah, I think that might have been a previous comment. We're not planning any affordable housing here at South
In the
Market.
senior, okay, I was
Yeah.
thinking, okay,
Yep.
that's what I thought, and then I thought I heard something about that.
Yeah, I think that maybe came from our initial submittal because
Okay.
initially we were looking at maybe some affordable senior,
Right, yeah.
but since then we've flipped to just entirely market rate
Okay,
senior.
I thought that last time, and somehow I thought I found it
Yep.
again, maybe it was looking at small notes. All right, I think, let's see. So this looks like city jobs to me. Yeah, I think that's, setbacks at the corner do help a little bit with the massing look. The west side, that's broken up by having that restaurant space, and I don't know if there's more you can do with that on the upper parts, or to make more use of that for residents, as I think John alluded to, that you have those great views. But otherwise, I like the project. I don't have a lot to suggest about that. And I don't know, I think the setback from the street helps a lot, and the added masonry, the attractiveness of the building. And I like the fact that you've inset the balconies. All of that helps also with eliminate the solid wall look. So,
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's all I have right now. I think other things have been addressed.
All right, great.
project still. It's exciting. I am still a little confused. So maybe, could you pull up the site plan? Or just the picture, I guess. Could you explain the circulation?
Sure.
By looking at, because it's one way, and so I'm trying to, is it one way where if you're going east on Broadway, you turn right at that first entry point? Yeah, could you talk through that?
Sure, happy to, and I apologize for the confusion. I think the confusion comes from a little bit, the plan in your packet is different than what we're proposing. So there is actually no one-way traffic in this plan.
Okay.
Come in off Broadway, and you can circulate around the park. You can go both ways on the east-west route. You can circulate around the east side of the site and out, or you can go the opposite way. You can turn in and go left and come around the east side of the park. You can turn in and go right. You can come on the west side of the park. The traffic's full circulation both ways.
Okay.
Similar to how you see the entrance into the current project off of Broadway. So as you enter into the current on Inland Way off Broadway, you can come both ways. It's a boulevard like that.
Okay. So then the parking lot on the east side of the park is two-way traffic through there?
That's correct.
Okay. And then, so the parking stalls on the road, Gishold, is that the?
It's WPS Drive, yeah.
WPS Drive. Those are just straight pull-in parking stalls, or are they?
Yep.
Because we had, okay. So I don't ever remember how big the roads are, like how much space you need for things. But as I look at that and I think about the connection, or how close this is to the Capital City Trail, and how there are this many people, there's a lot of opportunity for biking. I mean, you can get to the Capital City Trail really, up by the river, you can go down the other way. So how do you think you would manage the bike traffic with all of that parking and two-way traffic on that road?
So that's one thing we've started to talk to Strand about, who's the city's engineer, because we've got the roads designed as, I think, 24 feet from curb inlay to curb inlay, which does give enough room for a bike lane. So Strand needs to weigh in on this still, but our intent is to design these roads so that a bike could traverse on the street as well. You're going to correct me on
24?
that.
24 feet, you said?
I believe it's 24
And
feet
that's
from,
enough for a bike lane?
edge of curb and.
That's the distance between a drive aisle and a parking lot.
It's
Seems
probably
tight.
more than that.
It seems tight.
Strand's going to verify it,
Okay.
but whatever the number, I thought that Strand had told me the other day it was 24 feet from the edge of the inside of the curb pan to the other edge of the inside of the curb pan.
Okay.
And each curb pan is 2 feet, which Chris is going to correct us on this, but the bottom line is the roads will be designed so that a bike can traverse on the lane.
Well,
sorry.
Oh, no, it's fine. I think it just seems like a lot of parking on the western side where that would be phase 2, I think, but I don't know. It's hard to imagine. A lot of traffic, 2 sections of parking, and potentially pedestrians and bikes too. So I guess that's a concern for me. I'd be curious what other people think about that. And then you're proposing, can you, oh, you don't have it, but there's the new curb cut. Oh yeah, you do have it, okay. And so I think that's what you had brought up, right? And so that would just be, you could only turn right into that.
Correct.
Okay. But then there's still the light, the access point with the light. So now there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 different ways to get into the project. So.
Can you scoot it over just a little bit? The 2 entries in the center, I think, Steve, that's one way in, one way out.
Right. That section's one way in, one way out. at
Okay.
the entrance.
Yeah, this one,
Okay. So
Yeah.
which one's the inn?
Same way this way.
this way.
Okay, that one.
So this is all
Okay,
one way
right.
in, one way out.
Okay.
The rest of this is all two-way traffic, all the way around. And then this east-west road is all two-way traffic as well.
Okay. So there'd have to be, maybe there's service. All right, well, thanks for helping clarify that.
Yeah,
And
great feedback, and on our next submittal, we'll make sure we demarc arrows on the plan to make that clear.
The parking west of the park, though, is one-way traffic, not two-way, correct?
No, that would all be two-way traffic.
Where this angle
The
parking
angle.
is?
Oh, that is,
No,
I thought you
that's
meant on
one
the
way.
east-west
No.
road. That would be one way. That would be
Yeah.
private one-way parking.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. With the city, so another thing about the parking, when I was looking at the table, the first phase, if this is still accurate, it says that you're 99 covered stalls short for residential. So then those residents would just have to park on the lot.
We're actually not 99 stalls short.
I can clarify just from a methodology perspective. It was covered parking specifically, so secure parking versus street parking.
Right.
It's not. It's that number short, the 99. I think that you mentioned, but the plan itself has a surplus overall,
Yes.
and so it's really the demarcation between those as to what is maybe public, private, but certainly the applicant is proposing. The proposal meets code standards for parking.
Right.
It's just what is covered, for specifically for the residents, what is maybe a private stall that's with commercial or something like that. So I tried to make that a little clearer this time, but that was kind of my thinking into how this was laid out.
No, I mean, I understood that. The new information is that lot to the east of the park would all be a city-owned parking lot. And parking's like a street with parking. And so I guess, that's more a pit maybe, but like thinking about how that would be signed so that the residents wouldn't park there, so it would be
Sure.
available for the public, since
Yep.
that's what it would be designated as, and that's who would be responsible for it. So I was just clarifying that your residents, not everybody would get a covered stall. There'd be,
Yeah, so right now, the current code requires 1.5 stalls per one bedroom. So assuming, you have a half stall for each
yeah,
one
maybe
bedroom
they
unit.
would need more than-
And that's at like 1-to-1. So what we typically do on our underground stalls is we sell or lease stalls at a 1.3-to-1 ratio. Because if you think about it, not everybody is always home at every single time,
Mhm.
right? You have nurses who work night shift, you have professionals that work day hours, people are on vacation, people are just not home, they're out and about. And so for that purpose, we don't do designated parking. And when we sell at a 1.3-to-1 ratio on the inside parking, we never have any issues where there's not stalls. That aside, if we do follow the Monona code to a T and forget about all the public parking, we meet code if we assume that 34 stalls of the 54 retail parking stalls that we own and manage are shared with the residents, not including any of the public parking.
Okay. Okay, thanks. And with respect to the green space, I think having the park is a really nice amenity, so I'm not too concerned about the fact that it's less than 30, since the percentage is more than 30 when you include the park. And I think that's a good amenity, so there's. Doug had also brought up in the staff packet information about how you were thinking of managing like commercial deliveries and, just Amazon kind of package. And did you have a space that you were thinking would be where that would happen, like in those parking areas? Would there be designated spaces for that?
We've been working through that, and in our next submittal, we'll have a commercial delivery plan
Okay.
in our submittal.
Okay, thanks. Oh, and again, this is maybe a pit, but it looked like there was only 2 handicap stalls.
We'll make sure that we meet code on the handicap stalls.
Okay, that's all I have right now.
Chris?
Well, I think the advantage of going almost last is there's not much left to talk about. Overall, I think it's, I told you last time, if we're gonna put a project in the city of this size and scope, this is the place for it. So I'm in favor of it. I think your density's good. I think one of the items we keep talking about is the park and how, this is a question to the developer because there's really 2 ways to go. You're gonna dedicate it to the city. Are you taking park credits for that land dedication? Because if you are, then it'll be hard to give you park credits and also include it in your green space. You know what I'm saying, for your fees in lieu of for your dwelling units, right?
We're paying full park fees as part of the project.
Of all the units?
Yes.
And dedicating the land?
Yes.
Well, then I would say then the land and green space would count on your project. If you're gonna not pay some fees because you dedicated land in lieu of, then I would say you can't really count on your green space too.
Correct.
But since you're dedicating that and not taking that dedication as part of your park fees, I think as a developer, you have a very, very strong case to say, I've got the green space. So I think that basically puts the green space to bed. I like the way you shifted the buildings. I think that 10-foot really helps. I still feel like we need to do something on the corners to just bring that down a little bit. Nobody talked about the TIA. We talked about it last time, the traffic impact analysis. I don't see it being necessary here. This was designed for massive shift changes out of WPS, huge volumes of traffic. You will never have that large volume of traffic coming in and out of this place at any one time. So I think that would be a waste. On your next submittal, it would be helpful to have a little better image of where the masonry really is. It's really hard to tell on the submittal we had where the brick kind of it's hard to tell what's brick and what's not. Your presentation helped, but it would be helpful to see some better delineation. So you know, this is GDP, so a lot of this gets down to details that would need VIP. Since you gave us information,
Yep, we want it.
I love the awnings you have on the commercial. I think that really helps. It helps show it as like a commercial area. It gives it some color, some vibrancy. I like that a lot. Public roads, I'm assuming we're talking to Public Works, and we'll talk all about that. This will be similar to what happened down at, yeah, okay. And that's why we're talking about islands or not because of snow plowing. And one thing, when the roads are that narrow, even though there's parking behind it, we can get trees, and some of these areas, it would be good to see, but get trees behind the parking. Even though there's not an island, it'll still overhang that area, and it'll help for the heating and everything else. As far as your parking goes, I'm glad you provided as much as you did. I think we need every bit of it. There's nowhere to overflow here. I think it's, well, right now there is, but I assume that lot to the west will probably develop someday by Florida Court. Don't you own that?
Yes.
You mentioned it, I'll reemphasize it, amenities, 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 that's what makes it successful.
Mm-hmm.
And you're talking about a lot of amenities, that's great. The more you can have on there, the better it will be. You have a lobby area mid-building where your elevators are. It's not really easy to see in the architectural, and I'm just wondering, that's one place to break up the building or to have something more dramatic around the elevator, the lobby, since it's not an apartment building, it gives you an opportunity to a little more dramatic than what I see on the plans.
On our next submittal, we'll include some close-up images of that entrance, both on Broadway and from the parking lot side, because we are daylighting that whole corridor
Okay,
to really make it. The other thing I'll point out is our leasing office for both A1 and B1 is going to be at this corner of this building. It's one
On the
unified.
senior building.
Correct.
Okay.
We're looking at this as one unified project, even though it's two separate buildings. But our leasing office for both buildings will be at this corner.
Okay, and that's separate from your 24,000 square foot commercial.
Correct.
Great. Everything else has been talked about. I guess I want to say yeah to what John said about when you come in for your GDP approval, we do need a plan that says this is being built to phase one.
We will.
Something's clear. These roads, this part, the park, as you said, but some of that has to be memorialized in what
Sure.
we're approving.
We'll make sure we have that.
Okay. Thank you.
Patrick.
Not too much to add, just a question. Because we're going through the comprehensive planning process and we've identified places in Monona where we could go higher, did you consider going higher with this project at all?
This is as high as we can go with wood frame construction.
And
it would
there's-
be very cost prohibitive to go structural steel or post tension with the whole building.
Gotcha. But is there like a point where the return starts to make sense depending on how high it is? Or
When
the
you get
density?
downtown Madison and the rents go to 150 or 200% of what they are in Monona, then it starts to make sense. Or if you look at student housing, it starts to make sense. But you know, for example, if we went to post tension here or structural steel, it would add anywhere from, call it 50,000 plus per unit. Not only on the new units we would add, but on all of the existing units that were currently being proposed.
Gotcha.
So it gets pretty cost prohibitive fast.
Gotcha. Yeah, I just keep thinking that it would be nice to end up with taller buildings in this area, but obviously that's the limiting factor. You know,
Yeah.
It's something to think about for the future, though.
Yeah, but definitely.
Yeah, thank you.
We are 2 stories higher here than what we are even at current one, though.
I like that. Yeah. Thanks.
All my items, I think, were addressed. Doug, I know you had some particular questions that you wanted to make sure that people chime in about. Can you highlight what it is that you want, any specific feedback, and then we'll do one more loop through.
Yeah, thank you. I think the two things were really the proposed layout, specifically of the streets, the angle parking with the latest plans that you all have in front of you, the angle parking to the west of the park, the sort of more traditional lot to the east, just some of the general layout flow, the two-way traffic flow, sort of the existing entry off of the existing WPS drive, just some of those elements. Pedestrian connectivity, that's certainly something since November that I've been working with the developer on in terms of the experience at grade, movement through the site, accessibility and connectivity to the park. So maybe it is PIP elements, but just thinking about tabletops and different treatments and things like that for the materials at grade. And I think if there's just any, one item was just the CSM as well. If there's any discussion or feedback on that, I would appreciate that as well.
All right, thanks. Let's go through a policy.
One clarification for the unit makeup for phase 1. In, I think, your report, it says 242 and 243 in 1. It's really just something I caught. I don't have much more to say about it. I was going to bring up snow removal. Just thinking about that, and just looking between the south sides of the large buildings, not the senior housing. I was just looking at that, and you have sidewalks at back of curb on the north and the south side. That's going to be tricky.
Yeah,
So-
you can see that we have some stormwater area for the city to place for the road clearing. On our private parking, we'll end up hauling most of our snow away.
Okay. Pickleball noise, that's always a concern. Is that
Yeah.
really gonna be a possible thing with residents?
I think there's more noise coming from the road than what the pickleball is gonna create. I mean, we
That's
did.
white noise though.
What's that?
That becomes white noise.
Yeah, you know, so we've gone back and forth on this a little bit, because I think we had maybe talked about this at the last meeting. We were looking at doing pickleball on the courtyards, which I think would have been a little bit more noise intrusive.
Mhm.
Here, they're at grade level, and you've got the parking structure for the first two levels at the same grade as the pickleball courts, so you will have some noise clearly on the east side of the building, but it's 2 levels. The pickleball court's 2 levels below.
Okay. My last comment is just regarding the landscape, which we haven't talked about much. When you come back, it'd be great to see a dynamic landscape. I prefer natives. You can get the same traditional feel if you want with natives. But it'd be cool to something that sets off this building and outside of a typical foundation planning meeting requirements, so.
Great, yeah, we want to do something great.
John?
I don't have any comments based on what you said,
Yep.
but you brought up landscape, so now I have a question. Who's responsible for landscaping the city park?
The city.
So it'll be just soil when they get it?
It's really going to be up to Jake and Parks to design the park.
Okay. So that won't be part of your landscape plan,
No,
even though you're counting it as green space?
correct.
All right.
Yeah, nothing to add, really. I think everything's covered. Thanks.
Great. Chris?
Pedestrian access, I think they've done a good job of pedestrian access around. I was going to comment on the bike one that you brought up earlier. This isn't, I mean, you're just talking about the bike traffic getting out of here from the residents. You're not talking about the connection, because there's bike paths out on Broadway. And I would expect people to take that and not cut through here. So when we're looking at bikes, I don't think we're looking at a massive amount of bikes. We're looking at local traffic, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Roads, as long as we get by Public Works, I think I'm fine with this. When we talk about traffic calming, having the parking on it, having the narrow roads, that all helps slow down the traffic and keeps it slowed down, not only here, but around one city schools. Park access, I think, is good. I can't be, oh, you were asking about park landscaping. He's going to be paying massive, massive park fees. And as a developer, he's probably going to ask us some of that gets re-spent right in this park. Usually there's an agreement in the developer's agreement that a certain percentage can be used citywide, a certain percentage he'd like to see spent right back in this park. And I'm sure that will be a negotiation with your developer's agreement.
Yep.
Much like it was for Grand Crossing.
Yeah, it's $3,000 a unit. So it's
It's a lot. It's a lot of money. So there will be some fees available to do what parks in the city decide is appropriate.
City pool,
It's right.
a new city pool.
Well, there's a pool in both of these.
There's 2 pools
That's
there.
not both.
Yeah.
CSM, you're just doing a single CSM over this whole property?
No.
Well, it's confusing. So you're gonna have lot 3, lot 4, an outlot for the city, and then public, right?
Correct.
Okay, so there'll be 2 ownerships. It'll be phase 1 will be an ownership,
Yep,
and phase 2 will be a separate ownership.
that's correct.
Potentially. Okay, and I think that's fine. I don't have anything against it. The right-of-ways will have to just have some looking at them. It looks like your right-of-way, your east-west one might be a little wide for what you're proposing, see what fits in there. And I think it makes sense. And at this point, you're only asking for 2 ownerships, east and west.
Yep.
It's fine.
Patrick, anything else?
Nothing else.
The only thing that I didn't really get commentary on was parking. If I don't meet the code on a per parking stall count, and I have some shared parking here between my commercial and residential, if that's acceptable.
I think I'll start.
Yeah.
I think where you're at right now is fine. I'd say that This just got dumped on us tonight. so
Understand.
We haven't had a chance to
Understand.
look at our updated number here from what was presented by staff in our packet and your shared opportunities with your commercial parking. You've got substantial commercial here.
Mhm.
So I think, I didn't hear anybody else complain about the under. I wouldn't have the
Okay.
bus, but I think it's fine.
Great.
But you're speaking for you.
Just for me.
Yeah, just want to make that clear. I have two final comments if I can. I'd like to thank the people that came, WPS and One City School. That is meaningful. I like the solution that you worked out with WPS. I think that's appropriate. I think it's sensitive and it works well, I think. And then for One City School, I hope that all the units here have students for your school.
Oh, we would like that too.
The only other piece I know has come up with around the park, some of the tabletop design. I mean, I think that is the issue of if that is going to be a main entry and exit point for WPS, if they're not going to travel to the controlled light over at what will be Golf Way,
Yep.
or to the right, like that is a lot of traffic going around that central park. So we wouldn't want it to be fast traffic, but more to come. Anything else that you didn't hear that you want to make sure you get feedback on?
No, that's, everything was covered from my standpoint. So thank you very much for your time. I greatly appreciate it. We'll look forward to seeing you back soon.
Thank you. All right, we will close 6B and move on to 6C, which is a public hearing for the Slinde Realty Company on request for approval of the general development plan or GDP for the site located at approximately 112 through 208 Owen Road. And this is for a multifamily development, case number 28-2024. We'll give people a second to get reshuffled around here.
I guess Doug had suggested we come back before this body to just update and gain, I guess, confirmation that we would like to increase our unit size or density. Currently, it's about 237 units. We're looking to go to 259, which roughly is about 9%, a little bit over 9% than in the variance. So that's that. And Kevin Burrow is here. He discussed it very well. I guess the building size will diminish a bit. Our parking, I think, I think we're technically overparked, which is great. And that's that. The second thing, though, is that I wanted to clarify or just confirm my understanding that the approval that we have does allow for office space on the first floor of the buildings, if that should evolve. We have had some discussion about that. We have tenants that we do need to relocate. We have relocated one that ended up out to the west side, and we got to thinking maybe there's something there. Given the redevelopment of the BMO next site, which is right next door to our office, we got thinking maybe we should relocate. So that's all up in the air, but the approval, I understand, is in place for office space. And I just want to make sure I understand that properly. The last?
Or technically, I mean, just the zoning would allow for office space, and I guess we'd like to get some confirmation that if we do decide to do office, we don't have to come back and ask. More or less we would during the PIP process. Just clarifying.
And lastly, we were really seriously considering adding an amenity in that it would be a pool, which we don't have at the moment. So we're exploring that process, and we just want to make sure that would be okay. So that's that. If you have any questions about the unit design or mix, Kevin's here to address those.
If you want to just pull up the colored site plan that was submitted just for reference sake, but I think we can go through the Q&A and try and address any questions. I would like to clarify, again, my name is Kevin Burrow with Canothy Bruce Architects. The exterior design is basically identical to what has been approved a couple times here. All the same materials, the same fenestration, the same exterior design. The interior has been reconfigured to allow just a slight increase in the number of units. But again, all the amenities are the same. Everybody has their own private balcony. You have dog runs on both phases. You have outdoor patio spaces. And now we do have sufficient parking such that should we choose to have flexibility on the first floor, if we do get a commercial user that doesn't want to occupy space, we would simply remove apartment units, replace it with commercial space. We feel we have sufficient parking in place already for that opportunity.
All right. Is there anybody else that is here that would like to speak during the public hearing section? Seeing none here. No. Doug, if you want to read one that we received by email.
Yes. So received a public comment earlier today, and this is from John Etzler at 5805 Anthony Place. Unable to attend the meeting this evening, wanted to express opposition to the request this evening from Slinde Realty Company for the GDP. Summarized the project. The main concern, and I'll read this verbatim, main concern for the project is the massing of the structures. Unlike other 5-story units in the city, this development will be directly adjacent to 2-story multifamily homes and single-story family homes along Anthony Place. Other places within the city that have similar structures that are adjacent to single-family housing units are limited to 4-story structures, i.e. the Bloom, Fairway Glen, and Monona Pines. The other 5-story structures, i.e. River Place, The Current, and Yahara Terrace, are located in areas of the city that are physically distant from single-family structures. If the Owen Road project is approved as drafted, it will be the largest structure in the area. Parentheses, Heritage and Frostwoods senior centers are limited to 4 stories or built into hillsides that mask their massing. Thank you for consideration this evening.
All right. Anybody else here to speak during the public hearing section? Anybody online?
I do not see anybody online.
All right, we can close that and move on to item 6D, which is consideration of action for the Slinde Realty Company for the request of a general development plan, or GDP, for the site located at approximately 112 through 208 Owen Road. And this is for a multifamily development, case number 28-2024. Doug.
Thank you. So the request this evening is that consideration of action for the GDP. This is the Owen Road site. Phase construction, 2 5-story buildings along Owen Road. The site is totals just over 4 acres and 257 units are proposed. The site was rezoned to Community Design District, which allows for the PCD process with the GDP and PIP. Also of note, this is in redevelopment area number 5, that was created in 2007. And the applicant does have a concurrent TIF request with the city's CDA. A little bit of history here, 2 GDPs have been approved for this previously. The first was 175 units that was approved back in 2022. That did include the U.S. Postal Service remaining in the ground floor of one of these 2 buildings. Subsequently in 2024, mid-2024, 237 units were approved with the footprint and the massing very similar to what you see this evening, the 5 stories. As mentioned in the proposal, in the materials, this is to right-size the development. The reason that this is back for a GDP was the staff determination after consultation internally, the possibility of a change in concept, the decrease in unit size, subsequent increase in units, the additional 5.5 units per acre that impacts, as well as some of the changes of the site design at grade, and then finally the time that passed since the previous GDP approval. So as mentioned, there are a lot of elements here that overlap with what was previously approved. The green space here versus the open space. The difference being the plaza deck, which is over the parking area for both of these buildings. But the proposal as put forward actually, I believe, increases that slightly with the slight change in footprint, such that open space is now 31% for the overall site. And previous approvals for the GDPs did include findings of fact that this area was highly landscaped, highly programmed, and was appropriate and did meet the intent and the spirit of the ordinance. So as far as the zoning, the application materials, the updated materials that you have before you, do give some more clarity about USPS and their sort of future plans for the area. So I believe it's end of July of this year that they're looking to vacate the current center on Owen Road. Flexible ground floor space has been designed with some of the treatments and some of the elements that are there. It's the first I'm hearing this evening about the potential office, but I do think that's worthy of discussion this evening, of possible flexibility there. The CDD zoning would, of course, allow for that, but it is something that should be considered here as part of the GDP. As far as the parking, there have been some revisions along the street in particular, switching from perpendicular or to perpendicular from angled. Staff has some questions about the possibility of headlight glare into some of those ground floor units, possibly. Just something to consider there. And then also the potential difficulty of backing in and out. It could be a slower movement versus, let's say, an angled parking motion. And then also the T intersection is a change. That's at the southern end of the site. That also has parking within it. So just thinking about site circulation and movement there. Something from previous discussions of this site have been the sidewalk connectivity to the south of the site. Not sure if that is to remain, but just something here to clarify. The materials do show the sidewalk being added along Owen, which is a great addition, again with the Madison Metro bus service that's nearby. Also just enhancing pedestrian connectivity here. Just mentioning some of the parking standards. Again, the plan does exceed parking standards by 25 stalls total at build-out. There is some discrepancy within that's shown in the staff report, I think just with the phase lines as it relates to phase 1 to phase 2, but just clarifying some of those elements. I think it's probably something that can be worked out, but just wanted to clarify that. And then as far as the architecture and massing, the proposal here is for type 3A construction, which does allow for 5-story of wood-built construction. As mentioned here, this has added 5.5 units per acre to the overall density of the site. I did update the tables in the staff report to reflect more recent approvals for that. And as mentioned previously, the design is identical really from the street. Just the addition of the units in terms of some changes there with the balconies and things, but the step backs remain on the 5th floor as well as the material treatment, which staff really supports as sort of helping with that massing, particularly as it gets to the 5th floor. So with that, staff recommendation is included in the staff report for possible recommendation to council with findings of fact and conditions as listed. Thanks.
Doug, before we start one round, can you bring up
Yes.
plans so that way we're ready to point out any questions that come up?
Yes.
John, are you willing to start us out?
Okay,
We'll skip you. Susan?
Sure. I was skeptical when I heard you had more units about what that would impact it would have on parking, so I was pleased to see that the impact is, that you have more parking and it seems to work. I also appreciate that even though you may have reduced your square footage somewhat, it still is better sized than a lot of what we see. I also appreciate the few more 2-bedrooms than we often see. I just feel like there's more flexibility offered in what you're presenting. I do like the architecture, and this is, I think, what I was thinking of when I talked about the brow. I like the looks of that on the building. I think that's a nice looking building. Let's see. I guess, and appreciate the number of bike racks that you have as well. I guess I had a Question about whether you were planning to include EV conduit to the surface area while you're building it. I noticed you have some EV parking stalls in the covered part, but it seems like it might make sense to add some conduit as well to the surface, or?
Yeah, I mean, we can look at it. In our properties in Green Bay, the surface parking is free, but there are services that are out there that you can
Right, I see,
sign
yeah,
up for
right.
that would,
That
charge your
people have
credit
to-
card. So
right.
that's an option. We don't really want to be a public parking setting.
Right, got it, yeah,
So.
that makes sense.
um,
But yeah, if you
something
can
that-
make an arrangement, it would just
Well,
might be
Silver
some.
Eagle.
Well, if you ran the conduit, you at least would kind of have the option of finding something like that, but that would make sense to charge for it, obviously. I did have a question about the traffic flow, and I noticed we didn't seem to get input this time from the police and fire, and I was thinking about that in terms of getting fire trucks in and out with the perpendicular parking. It seems like it narrows things, but I don't know if that's something you thought about, or that's not an issue.
Address that.
Yeah, actually, the drive aisle is widened with the perpendicular parking. Now you have a defined boundary with angled stalls. There's always a mystery as to how far people pull in.
Well, true,
So it's
yeah.
much cleaner, actually,
Yeah.
perpendicular. And it does calm down traffic.
So it doesn't cut into space, yeah, and there's still room for that. All right, otherwise, yeah, I think green space seems to work, and I like a lot of the amenities you've added. Pool sounds like a nice amenity to me, to people who live there, and if you can fit it in, make it work, that's good. So yeah, nothing more, I think.
Green?
Yeah, I saw the pool is gonna be a shallow pool, so, because it's over the parking. And you know, I don't know if that would be a good amenity, or if someone would want more of a pool, but it seems nice. It seems to fit with like you have the, used to be bocce, I don't know if it's still bocce, but you have the yard games in the kitchen and all that, so that could be a nice place to be. What I'm looking for right now is, I have this note, and maybe you can help me understand. I understand that there might be an opportunity to do some commercial or an office space or something. And so I thought I had seen in the staff report that you were thinking that would be where the gym and the office would be. So how would you handle, like, would you take, if you decided to move forward with office space, would you then move the gym to a different location, or can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, we would have the opportunity to put the commercial on the frontage facing Owen Road on first floor at grade, where we already have a commercial storefront look with our lobby entry and our exercise room. Adjacent to that are, at the end of the building, are 2 units as well, which could get converted into more commercial space with larger windows. And then we would repurpose other areas over on the courtyard side, maybe remove a 1-bedroom, make that the exercise room. And we need to maintain the same level of amenities, we would just shift things around.
Okay.
The unit count will go down.
Okay, all right, thank you for explaining. But yeah, I don't have anything more at this point.
Yeah, we've looked at this a lot already, so there have been a lot of changes. I have to say though, your project looks so nice having that step back. We just talked about the previous project. It's made such a difference on the curb appeal from that building, so I appreciate your going ahead and doing that we talked about before. I hope you like it, but
We do.
It
We
makes
really
a
do.
big difference on how this building looks and sits. I think the layout's good. In fact, I think it's safer because angled parking's easy to get into, but you know darn well those people aren't going to want to come out, go all the way down, turn around and come back. They're going to try to come out and maneuver around and back and forth. So I think this is actually better because they're squaring up, and everybody's used to this in a parking lot, parking like that. Otherwise, I think with the angled parking, you'd have trouble. You'd have a little bit of chaos going on. So I like that. I'm very happy that you're above on parking because that will allow you to put in commercial. When you talk about you have approval, you have the zoning for it, but it's not approved anymore in this building because the one thing that will trigger will be parking. You have enough parking for it. So I'm sure that's why you're over parked. Because I think it would be unfortunate if all this happens and you don't have anywhere to go and you'd like to have your office in this building, you can't. be horrible.
Unless we move in at your place.
Well, that's possible. And I'm just gonna relate to the commission. I mean, we get some high-level reports at the bank, and right now, apartments are trending over 6% vacancy, and rents are coming down to maybe 1.2, 1.4% appreciation compared to what they used to be. Retail's down at 2%. Retail is the lowest vacancy as anything in the Dane County area, by far and away. Office is still up there, but the office that's still up there is because of all these big office buildings and people are working from home. But small office and small retail seems to be, if it's not picked up on rent right now, it should be because it's underbuilt right now in the city. Owen Road Drive, I talked about before when you were here. Two things. Try to square it up where it hits Owen Road. Right now you're coming in at an angle. You have plenty of room to square that up. It's always hard to see one way when you got it coming in at an angle. It's not quite perpendicular to Owen Road. And then the other thing I would ask for is some type of a plan that once the post office is gone, when we talked about this, then we can get rid of that other driveway. As long as the post office, I know the post office, I've worded that wrong. As long as the drive-up mailbox is there, because they have to be able to exit on Owen Road, right?
Sure.
But once that's no longer there, we talked about just turning that driveway into yours so that your apartment is the main driveway and that one has to join, stop, and then go out to Owen instead of having two sets of cars coming out and turning at the same time. I think as long as your post office drop box is there, you pretty much got to keep that.
Yeah, and that lease expires in July of this year, so they'll be coming out.
That will be done by the time you
Yeah.
have to, so it'd be closing up that other driveway cut, and just turn it in, we talked about that. And a lot of these are PIP details, just like we said to the applicant before, but should put a lot of effort in these, so it's nice to talk about them more.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely.
Sidewalk to the south, you heard that comment, I think you were planning on just leaving that, hooking up to your back of your curb or something last time, correct?
Yeah.
And you're going to need a little additional landscaping, I think, and one thing to look at is terrace trees. You're putting in that sidewalk along the one, there should be some terrace trees there too. I didn't see, maybe you have them planned. Again, that's a PIP thing. That's it. I think it's a nice looking project. I like what you've done architecturally to it.
Thanks.
Patrick?
No comment. I like it. I like the increase in density. The amenities. No other comment about it, really.
Nothing from me. Rob?
Not a lot to add. Question about the pool. If you wanted it approved, is that something that they can, if we can approve it at a GDP level, whether it might come or it might go, or?
PIP.
It'd be part of their
They asked the
PIP.
question,
Yeah.
so, okay. So you have a decision or direction
I would assume so.
for PIP? Because, I mean, even when you come, I guess, to make things easier when you come back, like,
Well, that was the whole purpose we brought it up. We don't want to come back again.
but yeah, I don't want you to, that's why I'm bringing it up. I mean, that came out wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, back to the shallow pool, we've debated from, hey, look, is that going to be like an exercise machine that collects clothes? Or is it going to be really used? Is it worth it? And we've come to conclude we really think it's worth it. Having said that, we don't have design, so, but we think it's a good idea.
I want to clarify one thing on that, in that we don't actually have parking directly under it, so we can go a traditional 5 foot deep. We're not going to go deeper for diving for safety's sake, but we can do more of a traditional depth, which then shallows out to 3 feet at the entry.
And I would just point out from a staff perspective that this is not included in the open space or the green space, so it would not impact those metrics whether it proceeded or not. We have city standards about fencing and things like that, so we'd certainly want to know that. But from a metrics perspective, this wouldn't take it overall below the number for example.
Okay, thanks. One other thing I noticed, I looked back at the June 24th, 2024, I think that was the approval. It's slight, but there's less kind of the brown material on some of the corners. It's not dramatic, but I like the more brown, frankly. Definitely comment.
In the foreshadow, when you come back for PIP, make sure you have material for it.
Yeah, we will.
Right, yep. We're just reminding everybody.
Yep. All good.
We'd like to see the physical stuff now. John?
All right. My mint is gone, so now I can speak. Well, first of all, I'd say I wish you would have gone first tonight, and you probably do too. But
Absolutely.
I think the previous project could have learned a lot from this discussion. And now you can sell them some parking spots if you want. I think the 5th floor step back, I think, is a very nice and good touch, and I think it should address most of the concerns that came up in the email. You know, you stepped it back, you changed the color in most of the areas, which I think is a nice touch. I was going to ask about the material board, but it sounds like that's coming. I do have 3 comments about the exterior, and take these, you know, for what they're worth, which is nothing. The brick at the base, it's a nice touch. I'm not a lover of the step up every once in a while, you know. I like to sort of keep it at one kind of height.
One down.
Well, you know, it'd be easier to go one down. That's why I wanted to see the material board, but the brown, the reddish brown, looks like it's trying to be wood.
It's a wood finish.
It's a wood grain finish, but it's not wood.
Correct. So
Yeah.
we'll bring the material samples.
Yep. Well,
It's a wood tone finish on James Hardy cement website.
Yep, and it doesn't look like wood. That's what I'm trying to say. A lot of times, I don't think. You know, things that try to look like things that they aren't,
Sure.
I struggle with. Again, it's just my preference. The white squares, the horizontal white bands,
Yep.
I like the white. I'm not sure what the squares are. They look rather large. They don't seem to fit in with the rest of the materials, which are kind of horizontal and.
Between the windows you're referring
Yeah.
to? Yeah, that would be a composite panel material, something like a James Hardy panel.
Yeah. I think the larger those panels get, the cheaper the building looks, and all the other panels are narrow. Just a comment. I like the idea of the office space, especially if it's the owner who's living in the building, because then the grass is greener. The landscaping is taken care of. The pool, I would make the comment that most residential projects that we're involved with these days are just doing shallow pools. And it's like people like to sit in them with their chairs, and you know, I'm not sure how long it'll last, that trend, but and they're less painful to deal with. The open space requirement, it doesn't include the water of the pool, but it includes all the pavement around the pool.
The deck area,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, that's correct.
So, in the last project, they weren't using the deck. In this project, they're using the deck as open space.
At grade.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I would find that the water's more open space than the pavement, actually. And I think that's it. I think the simplicity of the architecture, I think, could have helped the previous project. I think this will be a nice addition to Monona.
Is there anything you didn't hear that you are interested in feedback for? No? All right. Chris?
Appreciate the flexibility.
I just have to counter one thing. I like the Asian step-ups that you have in there. I think it's a nice touch on that brick, and especially around the main lobby area and everything. So we're two opposite opinions. I noticed that. I thought, it's a nice touch.
So we'll do the back half one style, the front half the other style. All right.
All right, this is set for action. Is anybody willing to make a motion?
Move approval with findings of facts and conditions. Well, finding facts 1 and 2 is really like that. Finding fact 3, if you could add additional landscaping on site and within the right of way can further enhance the site. So that's just a little insertion of on site and see that one dot, third line down, number 3.
Yep.
And then add condition, conditions was written by staff, condition 4, that the PIP shall include plans for traffic management of Owen Road, and condition 9, square up the driveway of Owen Road.
Sorry, Chris, can I just get a clarification? You said condition 4, did you mean condition 8 and 9?
Yes.
So, I believe so. So 8
and 8 temporarily, 8 and 9.
So 8 was traffic squaring up Owen Road.
Plans for traffic management, I can give an explanation once there's a second. And then 9 is squaring it up.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Okay, the traffic management, you already solved it, but that's what we have tonight, shows 2 driveways side by side out on the Owen Road. Sure, traffic management is getting that back down to 1 driveway. So that's what it's about. It's really a PIP detail. But again, we looked at it tonight, so. Yeah. Yep. Thanks.
Do I just have one more piece?
Just a clarification point as far as the potential conversion to office. As far as, certainly the CDD zoning allows for that, but process and will of the group, I would just ask for clarity as part of this motion if there's anything to be added, if that's a PIP.
We could put it in this, or we can acknowledge that when the PIP comes through, that's when we look at the final details. With the GDP, we're technically looking at massing. Are they going to hit parking, which we've talked about? General things. We actually even do final architectural details in the PIP. So if you'd like something here, I could add it, but it feels like more of a PIP detail.
I'm comfortable with it.
If the rest of the commission's comfortable, since we've had the discussion, there's enough parking here right now to be able to add some office, retail, whatever the pleasure is. And that could be noted in the minutes.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
So we have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
There is no new business tonight.
Good to see you again.
And we can go on to 8A, 1 through 5.
Thank you. A couple quick items. You may have noticed I included in the meeting packet kind of a monthly summary that came from Vanderwall and Associates. Right at the back, the last 2 pages. So you may have missed it, but we're getting monthly progress reports from Vanderwall. These are being included in city council packets, but I'll also be including them in plan commission just as a point of information. So certainly happy to discuss that during this, but also offline if anybody is interested. But kind of tasks completed and then expected work as well. So we'll be getting those monthly for the rest of the year. And then as far as scheduling goes, expecting a meeting on 3/23, the second meeting in March, a couple items there, but the next meeting on March 9th will be cancelled. That's everything I have.
All right. Let's see, 8B, any questions or comments that folks have? No questions, all right. Rob, number 9.
Move adjournment.
Second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
That's why I'm on commission.
Meeting is adjourned.
So. What is that?